Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 vs 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as it is a bot author recommended replay. And so we have got Muravev going to be taking on SmokingGunBot. Which still does not seem to have speed mining quite yet. However, it does seem to be fairly confident in its odds in this game. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this match, make sure to go ahead, click that like button if you haven't already, leave a comment down below, and subscribe. I'll just pull up the bot's descriptions here, so if we have a minute, we can sort of go over their details. And yeah, Muravev is a very interesting bot in the sense that it has a lot of variants. Like there's Muravev Terran, Muravev Protoss, Muravev, which is just apparently Zerg, and then they also compete on the micro ladder sometimes. So it's definitely a bot that covers a lot of ground. Now it is going to be trying to cheese out SmokingGunBot here. So a bit of an early pool with some lings crossing the map. We'll see if SmokingGunBot is ready. The Terran bot is just producing its first Marine, so it could be in a little bit of trouble here. And for those of you wondering, Muravev was created with the Sharpie framework, which is a very powerful tool that takes a lot of the legwork out if you do wish to program a bot. And let's see, lings come on in. They do find an SCV building a bunker, and that bunker will indeed be killed, not cancelled, notably there. And this Marine kind of just accepts his fate. The SCV is wise enough to turn around, which is very good behavior. However, things are still looking rather bleak for the Terran bot, as that SCV stays alive for a second and then it goes down. Marines are just feeding out kind of one by one against these Zerglings, so things are looking really quite problematic for the SmokingGunBot. Fortunately for the SmokingGunBot, Muravev is just macroing up behind this. Interesting third hatchery placement, and now it's doing a ginormous drone transfer to the natural base, which doesn't make a ton of sense, but okay. I'm not really sure what that is about. Lings, meanwhile, are still causing chaos, canceling a depot. That Marine is trying to save the day. However, I don't think he'll be able to do that. And the lings, yeah, they're still kind of free to do as they wish, poking some of these lings, but seemingly the lings are respecting the SCVs a bit too much as a potential threat, I suppose. But they are still definitely getting very good damage done. 6 Marines dead, 6 SCVs dead. If Muravev had committed wholly to this cheese, I believe it probably would have just won this game in a minute or two. Now, SmokingGunBot does have these reactors about to finish up, so it is now able to produce extra Marines to try and shut down these lings. It may lose a depot in the process of this, and maybe a few more SCVs as the Marines need to get in position, but they're kind of being distracted a little bit. And yeah, just a very, very solid opening for Muravev. If we take a look, it's a 29 drone Zerg with 3 hatcheries taking on a 1 basing Terran with nothing more than a couple of racks with a couple of reactors. So things are very, very bleak indeed for SmokingGunBot. Looks like a ling just chased down and killed another SCV. It will indeed go down. And the Marine kind of just hangs out, I guess. No threats for it to pursue, so it just sort of chills. This Overlord of Muravev may go down, as it does seem to want to be centered on this position, which is just an example of you can overprogram things, because this that Overlord probably would have survived had it just been left to the default Starcraft pathing. Of course, there's a lot of nuance and decisions you have to make as a bot author as far as the extra work you put into your bot, but it's little things like that you wouldn't really think about. And let's see, Muravev did go for its 3rd hatchery, technically at the natural, I guess just for larva. And then we do have a real third base on the way up, whereas SmokingGunBot, not speed mining, no orbital command, is in a very, very rough position right now. Let's take a look. SmokingGunBot was last updated September 7th, so still receiving some updates. It does have an update version 0.4.8, which does say refactored internal timings allow high precision timings required for speed mining, so maybe speed mining will be something that will be coming in the future for SmokingGunBot. And I imagine we'll probably see it shoot up in the rankings a little bit as a result, as speed mining is kind of, it's literally free money, which you can't really spawn in extra resources in StarCraft 2, but speed mining is kind of a unique way to get ahead, and there's not really anything comparable. So SmokingGunBot just chilling at its natural with 2 bunkers, a decent number of Marines out, still no orbital. It is a Terran bot programmed by Sipka, and it's written in Java. Meanwhile, yeah, Muravev made with the Sharpie framework, which is Python. Another Overlord being sent to its death for Muravev, which just kind of highlights that if you just have a loop in your bot of it doing the same thing, it will continue to do that again and again. And so Muravev wants to have an Overlord on that spot and is currently sending yet another one across the map there. Hopefully for its sake, it does not get Overlord speed, because that would just mean it would be sending its Overlords to their death much quicker. Whereas otherwise they're pretty slow, so it's not that big of a deal. Very, very slow recovery here for SmokingGunBot. Presently 24 SCVs, no natural base on the way just yet, and it has yet to start an orbital command either, so its economy is just looking very, very bleak. It's spent a lot of resources on Marines, which it kind of, I guess, needs based on what it's seeing outside its door. There is a Scouting Reaper for SmokingGunBot. But yes, Muravev is in a very, very good position. If we take a look here, we're seeing Carapace upgrades on the way. Infestation Pit Hydras being produced, Roach speed off 50 drones, and there isn't really much going well for SmokingGunBot to speak of. Looks like a couple Marines did get taken care of. We do see Muravev coming on in to engage these Marines. I believe there is like a combat simulator in the Sharpie framework, so I'm wondering if these Lings will go in, and they do. So this is a very good example that if you do program a bot, like I just recently cast Flower Princess in its game, and that was like, oh, this bunker may actually die. It's being repaired. It does go down, so that's painful. But Flower Princess, for example, didn't seem to have a ton of micro with its units. Whereas I believe if you program with a framework like the Sharpie framework, you will get that kind of included by default. So it does take a lot of the legwork out of just having a good functional bot. Now, Muravev is trying to break SmokingGunBot once more. There is a tank, no SCVs repairing this bunker, and so I think this bunker will go down, and we may actually just be seeing Muravev crush SmokingGunBot here. I'm not really sure what's going well for SmokingGunBot. It is getting a Planetary at the natural, so it's like, okay, maybe that will save the day. We have seen how good Planetaries can be in StarCraft 2 bot games. The Reaper's kind of distracting the Lings. For some reason, only one Hydra is firing away, which could very well be their undoing, because this Planetary is about to finish up. We are getting Lurkers on the way now for Muravev. The main base is kind of compromised for SmokingGunBot, but Planetary Fortresses are good, so maybe it will allow the Terran bot to stay alive in this game as it begins going to work and deleting these Zerg units. Muravev, notably, adding in some Spore Crawlers, getting up Lurkers, Tunneling Claws, but not really having that good of an economy. Now, this is quite problematic, as there is presently no detection for SmokingGunBot, so this Lurker is just going to be able to kill everything, potentially even the Planetary. Though I guess if it gets repaired or if it goes down, you got to stay in the ground, but it does not, so a bit of a silly Lurker there. And yeah, SmokingGunBot, I guess, lives on a little bit longer. I'm kind of baffled by the lack of orbitals still. I mean, we're almost 10 minutes into the game, If there was an orbital built, it would have dropped, gosh, I don't know. What is it, a mule? It's over a mule every, it's gotta be like almost, it's probably what, 3 mules every 2 minutes or something like that. And so, like that would more than have paid for itself. So, that's something to consider. We do have a few more drones being squeezed out for Muravev, getting up a hive now, more upgrades rolling. Army supply is absolutely massive for Muravev. However, breaking a planetary is always a struggle for bots, so we'll see how long, or if Muravev will be able to do that. I think it's just a matter of how long, based on how this game is going, but you never know. We have seen crazier things happen. I mean, for example, if Muravev never takes a 5th base, but it throws away all its resources, it could potentially run dry and be outlasted by SmokingGunBot, which is a bit of a notorious turtle bot. Okay, we have got infestors out for Muravev, more lurkers being produced. The Zerg bot is just building up that army, it's already got +2 carapace, so these units are very tanky. We are seeing 1-1 on the way. Unfortunately, we did just see Overlord's speed finish, so I'm wondering if there's going to be an Overlord being sent to its death. How many have died this game? Only 3, so Muravev seems to have abandoned the Overlord scout, which is good to see that wasn't just happening again and again. SmokingGunBot does drop a scan, so it did get an orbital at some point, so it wants to secure up this 3rd base location. We'll see if Muravev can shut that down. Reapers are being a bit of a nuisance. And can the Ling get the Reaper? The answer is yes. The next question is, can SmokingGunBot get the 3rd base? That really is the million-dollar question. Tank killing off some Marines and some friendly fire. The Zerg bot is being quite passive. It's definitely taking its time to build up its army because well, it doesn't have that big of an economy. It's squeezing out the odd drone here and there. No 5th base being added on just yet. We are getting all the upgrades. Adrenal glands, 2-3 on the way for the Hydras. They will be very, very effective in this case. Still no 3rd being started for SmokingGunBot. Thanks to the few Lings that Muravev has been incredibly active with, as that gets shut down once more. The creep is knocking at the door of SmokingGunBot. It did at least have a scan behavior in order to try and make sure that 3rd base was able to be taken and not blocked by creep or a burrowed unit. Unfortunately, it does not seem to have the muscle in order to defend that presently. We're even getting adaptive talons. We do eventually get a 5th base on the way for Muravev. The drone count is also climbing, as it will be passing 60 now, which will make just the Zerg incredibly formidable here. I mean, it's a very good defensive position for SmokingGunBot. It goes to show, and it really highlights that programming a bot to kill your opponent is not an easy thing to do if your opponent is hunkered down to defend. SmokingGunBot has got quite the defensive location here. And let's see, it's now getting Cloak, getting out a Viking, a Cyclone, producing odd amounts of units, but with the natural base going, it can keep this up for a while. We will eventually need a 3rd, though. There's burrow research, but no Lings burrowing at that 3rd base location. Muravev is closing in on that 200 supply mark as well. That could potentially be the trigger, and it is the trigger for a lot of bots when it's time to attack on in. It's a very simple condition as a bot author to say, hey, we're maxed out, let's go kill this nerd. And Muravev may just be about to do that, as we are now at almost 190 supply. There has been a lot of deadlings this game, but resources lost is still fairly close, thanks to the tank's friendly fire, killing off Marines. But here we are, Muravev about to cross that 200 supply mark. It is just keeping its main army back at home, so I'm curious, is it going to move out? We do have 200 supply for Muravev, but it's just sitting back. Looks like SmokingGunBot is trying to move on out. Yeah, I'm not sure what condition Muravev is waiting to hit before it decides to pull the trigger. It is continuously throwing away these highly upgraded Lings. I mean, they do have +3 armor, so they're not exactly easy for SmokingGunBot to kill unless those tanks fire on it. But yes, I think if Muravev just F2A moved at this point, it would probably win this game. So we may just fast forward a little bit here, but I mean, this is a legitimate game because sometimes bots bug out and they get stuck. And that could be what's happening to Muravev right now, as it just keeps throwing away more and more Zerglings. It is delaying this third base once again. But just more and more Lings going down. No big attack from Muravev yet. I think we'll see it at some point. I don't know what's going on with the programming of Muravev, but if I had to guess, it is probably losing Lings constantly, so it's not having it might not even have an attack threshold or something. Most bots do, but not necessarily every bot has to. A Raven is out for SmokingGunBot, so that will help clear creep. We're seeing more bunkers added in. Yeah, Muravev is just throwing away like 20 Lings at a time, which is not great. I mean, they're doing very well, all things considered, since they do have a gross upgrade lead compared to the Marines. SmokingGunBot, though, is still alive. 110 supply. It very well may max out in this game. We're even seeing Neo Steel Armor, aka Building Armor, to make these planetaries a little bit more tough. And this one could potentially become a planetary. We shall see, as Lings are causing problems. You do got to give it to SmokingGunBot that it is actually responding to threats. Like, it's not just abandoning its third base. When an attack comes, it does send units there to go ahead and clean it up. And it is allowed to take a third base by SmokingGunBot. It's one of those funny things when casting these bot matches that you can look at a game and say, hey, oh, well, this bot clearly would win. This bot's clearly won. But unless your bot actually has the programming and doesn't bug out or anything and actually goes for the final attack, it very well may throw away a one game. And that definitely happens, and that is, yeah, that's just part of the challenge of programming bots. It's not just a game of Starcraft 2. It is a game of two bots playing Starcraft 2, and that adds another layer to it. The Lings constantly running in. 477 have died. It's not good. Yeah, I'm guessing Muravev is just trying to harass, constantly losing units. Again, the trades are not atrocious, and it has more than enough bases to maintain these trades, although now losing drones definitely hurts, as it's not really responding to this. These infestors, the Hydras, are still sleeping for some reason. When, like, what even is there? There's 18 Hydras around the map sleeping for Muravev, but it's just not F2Aing. Thanks to some bug, it's got a ridiculous 18 Queens out. But now we are seeing SmokingGunBot go ahead, move out for an attack, and unless Muravev has some sort of defensive trigger that's going to kick into action upon this, it very well may just be a dodo with no self-preservation instincts. As we approach 21 minutes into this game, it's like the Banshees have taken some damage from spore crawlers, that kind of thing. The micro not being perfect. Planetary, though, now adding on kills. Muravev, 200 supply, SmokingGunBot 140. I mean, there's a lot of bases for Muravev to lose, but if it's just fighting 20 Lings at a time, it will not win this game. Someone needs to go poke Muravev with a stick, wake it up. Let me know what you guys think of these kind of bot games, because they definitely are a common thing. And I think the general consensus is that viewers, from what I read, generally do enjoy these bot games where it is a little derpy. Those sort of things. But it's definitely interesting to see how these bot authors program their bots, what they prioritize, that kind of thing. But unfortunately, it does make it a bit like I don't mind. I don't mind watching these longer, sort of derpier games where one bot builds up 17,000 minerals but won't attack. But I only mind basically if you guys mind. So let me know in the comments down below. I'm not sure I did my whole spiel at the start of the game, but while we do have this slow move out from SmokingGunBot, click that like button, leave a comment down below, subscribe, all that good stuff. Muravev is not trading out very well now as resources lost rose massively. SmokingGunBot is moving out for an attack, but it's getting lots of freebies here as Lings kind of run by. That sort of stuff. Banshees for SmokingGunBot are doing a good job harassing. The blue Terran is still only on 3 bases, starting to mine out, so there is a possibility in which SmokingGunBot still can lose this game, even if it just sort of loses the odd unit here and there, taking poor trades, like, for example, to Broodlings when it kills a hatchery. We'll see. Lots of Overlords dying, though, is definitely painful for Muravev. They seem to just be floating forward. Queens are going down, not really helping each other out. Fungal Growth does hit a Banshee, so there is behavior for the infestors to utilize Fungal Growth, but they're apparently not going to move to do so. They refuse to get off the couch. It's like some queens are moving around trying to spread creep, but that's their goal, to spread creep, not to try and kill these liberators, which are encroaching on them, it seems. Or 190 supply eating into the bank of Muravev. SmokingGunBot not pushing all the way out. It's got some random units all over the place. It does still have 4 tanks back at home though, so the bulk of the army for SmokingGunBot is staying back. Queen is fighting. So like, SmokingGunBot is losing units, but we do get a 4th base completed and on location now, so that is going to extend its life in this game. And I think we are past the point of Muravev not waking up here. Definitely an interesting game. Definitely one that Muravev could have won. But at this rate, it's looking like it shall not win this game. It just goes to show you can put in tons and tons of work as a bot author, but unfortunately, that may not be enough. Queen's even cleaning up some liberators, it would seem. Good, you go, Queen. You go, girl. As 20 Lings are still being produced at a time, so definitely a very scrappy game, but the Queens are getting some nice pickoffs, killing Liberators. These units are not free, guys, and SmokingGunBot is all of a sudden down back to 120 supply. So it's like, okay, maybe the just passive AI defensive Queens can get this done. Muravev still having lots of money to mine. Still got bases it can potentially expand to. It's rebuilding some of these hatcheries that it lost. And now SmokingGunBot seems to have backed off a little bit. We are still just seeing the 20 Lings while the rest of the units sleep. Ever since that first lurker died, it seems that things have not been good for Muravev. They just slept and never woke up. An attempt to expand further. We are having Queens that spread creep, seemingly being the only units, aside from the Lings, that are fighting for Muravev. But we are getting lots of these Lings being made. It's got like 40, 50 on the map right now. And that may be enough to get the odd unit pick off here and there. Killing off Reapers, which it seems SmokingGunBot likes to have a scouting Reaper on the map. 30 minutes into this game. Still not sure which bot's going to win. I really thought that Muravev was just going to die, but then SmokingGunBot did lose some units. More Overlords dying. How many have died? 18. 1,200 Lings. No small amount, but here's the defensive Queens doing their best once again. They do perish. Lings rallying out one at a time is not good. Not how you want to handle this, but like the Queen, it's doing what it can. I think it might have just transfused a piece of larva. The Queen does go down. More Queens are being built. SmokingGunBot now moving out with more of its forces down here. Will there be any Queens to save the day? I'm not sure. Okay, so it may be a SmokingGunBot victory in the end. Just much more, what's the word, protracted? Prolonged. Queen trying to fight a Thor. Hydra trying to fight a Thor. They will actually get it. Muravev, though, is just about out of its bank. SmokingGunBot at about almost hitting 200 supply. And it is a very, very prolonged game. Scan even to kill the lurkers. The lurkers just asleep at the wheel. Muravev slowly dying. SmokingGunBot not having a ton of money in the bank, as it is really, really starting to mine out, but I think it's got more than enough to win this. Holy cow, what a long game. We are just zooming through this at this point. A bit of a derpy match. I think Muravev is done for, though, at this point. SmokingGunBot really, really taking its time to clean this up. But the one thing that Muravev had going for it, its ridiculously big bank, is now gone. Fungal's going down, but yeah, definitely a bit of a throwaway game. And that is going to be that once we get rid of these last extractors. GG.